I was speaking to some other people about this last night after reading several responses to We Are the Left and kind of trying to come up with like, how do we address this, right? Because obviously, as both of you have mentioned and as others have mentioned, the people who wrote this are people with power, right? They are part of campaigns. They are writing for magazines. They're writing books. And Sadie Doyle has a book out, right? So they're people with particular material power, and they have access. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, what is the response? How can we, as people who are, I don't want to say the real left because I'm not in this sort of, again, purity fight, right? But I'm trying to figure out how do we as activists, how do we as scholars, how do we as thinkers, how do we as regular people who want to see a formed left that is truly intersectional and that does incorporate class and that does incorporate questioning power and imperialism and all these things, where do we go from here, right? And how do we reclaim that language so that we don't have to throw the word left or the word intersectionality in the trash, right? Like, what do we do to get it back? And I think that's the challenge that I personally am having, right? Like, how do we articulate this message without alienating a lot of people? Because that thing was unreadable. I mean, it was a mess. Like, on a purely linguistic level, it was awful. It was really bad. So how do we include people, but how do we also not replicate a similar type of language and form of talking about these issues as these people did, which I didn't like. So.
Gotcha. Caller, what's your name? Because I missed your name. Who is this?
Sorry?
I said, what's your name? I missed your name when you called
this
in.
Is Wendy. Yeah, there's a delay because I'm calling in from Skype because I'm still in Brazil. So there's a delay.
Wendy, is that you?
May not have. Yeah.
Oh, hey, girl. Okay, so I'm going to email you. I was like,
Wendy from Twitter?
Wendy? That's Wendy from Twitter. So shout out to Wendy. Shout out to Wendy. I'll be tweeting out Wendy as email stuff. Not email, but her Twitter handle. If y'all don't know Wendy already, because Wendy be dropping knowledge all the time. As I'm sitting there, I was like, Wendy. I'm like, who is that?
Yeah, Wendy is awesome. And her Twitter is
absolutely on point. So how do we? I don't know, Wendy. Maybe you need to come on and tell us what we need to do, Professor.
I have an idea.
I'm really at a loss, and it's frustrating because I'm seeing.
I was talking to
seeing
somebody.
This from the side, and it's terrifying. Like what it could mean in the future. I've always said I think the language around intersectionality that I saw the Clinton team throw out. It frightened me because I was like, oh no, this is the end. Like you look at this and you say, okay, nope, can't use that word anymore. And so I think that, a big part of power is by silencing one side, your opposition, right? Or people who try to critique you. And if you remove the language, if you get rid of one's language, then how are you supposed to speak back to this sort of power, right? So if you remove the rhetoric, if you remove the terms by which we refer to ourselves, right? Then how do you, you can't call yourself anything. You can't unify around a specific term or idea. And so I think this is part of a larger practice and a part of a larger project that we're going to see going forward if Clinton is president. I don't think this is the end. I think this is just the beginning of what we're going to see going forward. And we have to think of creative ways to counter that.
That's exactly what I was saying, is that this is an appropriation. This was an attempt to take that word, the concept of, they got Bernie, right? They got Bernie to endorse her or whatever. And literally like the next day, I think, or 2 days later, they come up with this letter. And all of a sudden, they just create a Twitter account. They get 25, 30 signatures on it. Some people, they didn't even apparently ask. It seemed like a very concerted effort. And it seemed like a very specific effort. Like people got together and said, okay, we got Bernie. Now, how do we get the rest of these people? Oh, let's just declare ourselves the left and take over. They thought they could just appropriate the whole thing. And we would just sit there and be like, oh, you're the left. Let us follow you wherever you want to take us. It didn't quite work out that way for them. And that was kind of funny, actually. And it's still funny, like it's sort of exploding in these small little explosions, like. But at the same time, like, it's not really right. And yeah, they're retweeting like all kinds of transphobes and this Kathy Brannon woman who's awful. And then there's all kinds of infighting going on.
There's also Smooth Cobra, who's been a Hillary for the longest, and he's so problematic. But shout out to Q. Thanks for updating me. She was just saying that now the post says that it has a final edit deadline, so it has a few more days for people to sign on, but also suggest comments and edits. That might be something for us to do, is to suggest, a well-worded comment too. But I appreciate Wendy's commentary and feedback, as well as question about what do we do and how do we change this. I think that, building on to our own cooperatives like we're doing now, trying to not just, having us all start coming together in groups and stuff like this, having these conversations, and engaging other people in dialogue on these conversations helps amplify our voice and provides us with a sense of, not just a sense of power, but a presence to be able to combat those bad narratives. It provides us support to do so, whether we form writing collectives, do roundtables of our own, and really start building and having conversations. But we do need to be actively engaged. So Wendy, I'm definitely emailing you, because I think something to be done is we should all write. I think we should have some type of, whether it's a series of essays from us, and again, not really into to the real left versus the fake left, but for those of us who see the issues with this presentation and this framing of issues as if only these people over here have a real understanding of the issues and what's going on, because that's the problem. They positioned this as if this is somehow representative of a certain experience that only they have the answers to, when we've all had experiences, and this misses the mark. It just does not capture that. So I do think amplifying these additional voices, which I'm so happy to have Kieran here with me now, but Wendy, we'll definitely have to connect with Wendy, because Wendy has a lot of other knowledge that I particularly don't have. She has another strong suit. I think that's the thing. We need to start playing to each other's strengths and
I think that
each other's voices.
Exactly. Yeah, we need to make those connections. Exactly. I agree. And I'm always retweeting Wendy. I absolutely love her, the way her brain works as well. So I love this idea. And I do think, I was talking to somebody, and, I do think that there is a need for more female and people of color representation. And not, we do exist, but I think on the platforms, on the big platforms that you see out there, and I'm talking like the Intersectionality, some of these bigger media outlets that are, squarely on the left, that are, very much leftist. You're never going to mistake them for anything but left. Like those platforms, they're excellent sources of news and analyses and everything like that. I think there needs to be more female voices, and there need to be, in some cases, more people of color and queer people who need to be the leftist people. And we are out there. Okay, so there's people in any of those categories who are leftist. I am one of them. You are one of them. Wendy's one of them. Out of the categories that I named, there's tons of people, and they're on Twitter. We need to connect with each other, and these bigger outlets, if anybody's watching from any of them or has any connections with them, I think they need to start really looking at diversifying their own thing. And it's not just as a token thing, but to show that they do understand the idea of intersectionality. Because for me, it's like, of course we understand the intersectionality. Like, I'm a queer, brown, immigrant woman. Like, intersectionality is my entire life, but apparently for these some of these neoliberal types of feminists who signed this letter, first of all, they block people like me, like I've been talking about. They don't even talk to people like me. They only talk to white men.
They don't want to
so
talk
a lot
to
of them don't even hear the perspective
into their narrative. If you don't fit their narrative, their view of the world, they don't want to talk to you. They don't want to deal with you. There are several people on that letter who are very good for that. They will shut out any type of dissension. And we need to, that is a problem with some people, even, people who consider them themselves the real left. There is a problem with that. People are not willing to have discourse and constructive feedback. I'm someone that believes in being respectful. I don't believe in not respectability, but being respectful. Just engage with folks. A lot of the trollish behavior that's happening right now, it is absolutely unnecessary, but we all experience it. So having one group act as if they're especially victimized, it's ridiculous. They actually encourage and engage in abusive behavior. One of the people on that list, I've watched them attack another woman of color, Rania Khalek, several times, and deride them and have their followers egg them on to attack her too. So people are complaining about behavior that they themselves engage in. At some point, we all just need to grow up and act like this is real life and not just some make-believe land called social media, and really address, how we're dealing with each other and addressing these issues. But I am so thankful and appreciate you coming on. And like I said, Kieran is joining me, contributing to the way, and we're going to be doing some podcasts and other work together. Definitely want to hook up with Wendy. And if there's any of you out there who are interested in this topic or other topics, definitely hit us up on Twitter. Shoot me an email, theway.with Anoa.com.